This is Circe on the top of page 65. She interrupted us, saying, "Noble Odysseus, son of Laertes, why don't you go back to your camp and fetch the rest of your men? If you stow your ship and your belongings in the caves above the beach, they'll be perfectly safe. Then bring your men back to my palace. My maids and I will bathe you and entertain you and serve you delicious wine and sumptuous food. I hope that you'll then be able to forgive me and that we can be friends. You won't regret it, I promise." Bad luck and disappointment had haunted us since we left Troy. Most of our companions had died hideous, violent deaths. The suffering and hardships that we endured now made the temptations of Circe's palace irresistible. Leaving the men I had rescued in the tender hands of Circe's maids, I went back to the camp. I had arrived barely in time. Our comrades had given up on us, and we were preparing to sail. As soon as they saw me, they rushed up to me and overwhelmed me with questions and embraces. They could hardly have been more excited than if we had finally landed in Ithaca. When I had calmed them down and explained them the situation, only Eurycleus was reluctant to come home with me. He shouted to get our attention. "It's crazy to think of going back. We'll all be at that cruel witch's mercy. What makes you think she'll keep her promises? She'll just laugh at us and turn us back into pigs." "Eurycleus," I replied, "if you want to stay here on your own, then stay, but the rest of us are going to Circe's palace to enjoy ourselves and to forget our sorrows." Then, afraid that I had been too hard on him, I put my arms around his shoulders and spoke more gently. "Come, dear cousin, think of what you went through as a bad dream. It's over now, believe me. Circe has sworn a divine oath not to harm us. If she breaks it, Zeus will punish her." Reluctantly, Eurycleus agreed to come. The rest of my men were in a hurry to rejoin their lost comrades, and we quickly reached the palace. We were delighted to be back together, and our happy cries echoed throughout the great hall. Even Eurycleus became himself again, and when he realized that his nightmare was over. Circe was as good as her word. We were all bathed in scented baths and wrapped in dazzling cloths she had made herself. Then a magnificent feast was set before us, and wine of a fragrance that would have delighted the gods. Later, Circe took me by the hand and led me to her bed. My men were left to enjoy the company of her maids. Enchanted by pleasure, we stayed in Circe's palace for 1 year. I had forgotten about my home and my wife until one day my men came up to me and told me that it was time to leave. I immediately knew that they were right. When I told her, Circe became sad, and I thought for a moment that she would try to prevent us. But she was resigned to our decision. "If you're determined to leave now, then so be it. I'm afraid that your way home won't be easy. Poseidon still seeks to destroy you. What's more, his brother Zeus had decreed that you must descend the underworld and visit the spirits of the dead before you can return home." "But, sweet Circe," I replied dismayed, "how can I possibly go to the grim house of Hades? No one has ever been returned to tell the tale." It will find you," said Circe as she clasped my trembling hand. "Raise your mast and set sail and to the north, and the wind will take you there. At the entrance to the underworld you must sacrifice a ram and a black ewe, which I will give you. Their blood will call up all the spirits of the dead. Burn the sheep and pray to Hades and Persephone, the gods of the underworld. Then the spirits will talk to you. When your visit is over, come back here to refresh yourself before your journey home." We sat in silence and waited for the dawn. There was nothing left to say or do. At daybreak, I led my men down to the beach. We dragged our ship to the water and checked the timbers and the rigging. Then we loaded our treasures into the hold and headed to the sea in dread. For who could set sail for a land of the dead and not be sick at heart?